Hi, my name is Sebastian, and today I'm going to be presenting to you the Glasnost and the Perestroika. This is a quick explanation of the events that led to the fall of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Well, first, we have the events that led to the fall. One of the things that led to this is the election of Mikhail Gorbachev after the death of Leonid Brezhnev, who died after 17 years as the General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Soviet Communist Party. The last years of Brezhnev left the Soviet Union at a state of economic stagnation. Brezhnev leaves Gorbachev with a Soviet Union that has many economic problems. In May 1985, 2 months after coming to power, Mikhail Gorbachev delivered a speech in St. Leningrad in which he publicly criticized the inefficient economic system of the Soviet Union, making him the first communist leader to do so. Then, the Cold War. The Soviet Union had been having trouble with the United States since the end of World War II, before Gorbachev's government. The Soviet Union had built up a military that consumed as much as 25% of its gross national product, at the expense of consumer goods and investment in civilian sectors. Soviet spending on the arms race and the other Cold War commitments both caused and exacerbated deep-seated structural problems in the Soviet system, which experienced at least a decade of economic stagnation during the last Brezhnev year. Then, Glasnost and economic reforms. In the Russian Empire of the late 19th century, the term was particularly associated with reforms of the judicial system. Among these were reforms permitting attendance of the press and the public at trials of the verdicts were now to be read aloud. In the mid-1980s, it was popularized by Mikhail Gorbachev as a political slogan for increased government transparency in the Soviet Union. Glasnost was seeking to mean increased openness and transparency in government institutions and activities in the Soviet Union. Glasnost reflected a commitment of the Gorbachev administration to allowing Soviet citizens to discuss publicly the problems of their system and potential solutions. Then, we have Gorbachev relaxing the trade restrictions. Gorbachev also peeled back restrictions on foreign trade, streamlining processes to allow manufacturers and local government agencies to bypass the previously stifling bureaucratic system of the central government. He encouraged Western investment, although he later reversed his original policy, which called for these new business ventures to be majority Russian-owned and operated. He also showed initial restraint when laborers began to push for increased protections and rights. With thousands protesting the wild inefficiencies of the Soviet coal industry, but he again reversed course when he faced with pressure from hardliners after a massive strike by 300,000 miners in 1981. And to end this, the collapse of the Soviet bloc. The failure of Gorbachev's perestroika hastened the fall of the Soviet Union. After decades of heavy-handed control over Eastern Bloc nations, in 1988, he announced to the United Nations that Soviet troops level would be reduced, and later said to the USSR would no longer interfere in the domestic affairs of those countries. In August 1991, a coup by hardliners aligned with some members of the KGB attempted to remove Gorbachev, but he maintained in control, albeit temporarily. And last, on December 8th, a newly free Gorbachev traveled to Minsk, where he met with leaders of the Republic of Belarus and Ukraine, signing an agreement that broke the two countries away from the USSR to create the Commonwealth of Independent States. The Soviet Union, as a subject of international and geopolitical reality, no longer existed. Just weeks later, Belarus and Ukraine were followed by 8 of the 9 remaining republics, who declared their independence from the USSR. Boris Yeltsin now had control of both parliament and the KGB. Gorbachev's resignation as a president was inevitable, and on Christmas Day, 1981, he gave up his office. Well, this was it from me. I hope y'all understand the subject, and thank you for watching.